and Carly Kenyon. I've been so excited for like weeks to have them on the show. So they're the sweetest. Like seriously, it's crazy how awesome. I love them. But you know, today we're gonna like discuss a lot about like family consumer sciences education, like the development of families, a little bit about grading systems. We're just gonna cover a lot of stuff in a short amount of time. So bear with us if you're a listener out there. So like when you guys think of family consumer sciences education, like what comes to mind? Like like the old school home ec. Like what's the first thing that pops in your head?
With home ec, probably just like sewing, baking, just the typical like homemaking kind of things.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Raising children, that's kind of the big thing that.
Yeah, too. Like just like housekeeping even.
Absolutely.
Like,
laundry.
I think you mentioned
like
earlier.
50s housewife.
Yes.
I think you mentioned earlier like making your grandma's pie, like classic.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the greatest recipe ever. Like keeping going. But the thing is that home ec is a little bit different than that now. Like when it was founded in 1899 at the Lake Placid Conference, they called it home economics because that's what made sense to them at that point. But they really wanted to incorporate the basic homemaker into the educational field and the work field a little bit. So it's now like growing into education, food industry, textiles, clothing, or hotel and restaurant management, and like even nonprofit organizations a little bit. And it's like it's called family consumer sciences now, and that's a part of career and technical education. I don't know if you've ever heard that term before.
I've heard of it, but can you elaborate for us on
of course.
career and technical education?
Yeah, so career and tech ed, it focuses on so many things like business, agriculture, health sciences, engineering, like science, technology, engineering, math, the STEM program, finance, and even like family consumer sciences education. I actually just recently went to a conference in Nashville.
Fun.
That was about career and tech ed. I wish you guys could have been there because it was so interesting. We talked a lot about how like CTE classes prepare students to go directly into the workforce. It's really important these days because if you have someone in like your average cooking class, like you don't want them to get 80% because if they go out into the work field with an 80% like cooking food, that could like make someone sick, and it's really important. So it's a lot of like building those like boundaries and those steps at the beginning.
Sarah, what is the next step for schools in Iowa and even all across the country with this?
Yeah, so I actually did a practicum with Fort Dodge Junior High, and they started doing this newsletter, which is really cool. It explains a lot of things that are going on in their school. Something called Skills USA. It explains what career and tech ed is. Robotics Club, Family Consumer Sciences, like what is it now? FCCLA, which is the organization through Family Consumer Sciences. And business, computers, marketing, work-based learning, so many things. They just send this out to all of the teachers so they understand like what career and tech ed now is. So I think that's a really important thing is like educating the rest of the people in the school district. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is there's this new program that they're starting called ProStart, and a lot of the schools are really taking it on full force. It's a 2-year program where teachers like us would be preparing students to go directly into the restaurant world. Basically, they teach them everything start to finish, and it's crazy because like in 2013, 142,800 Iowans worked in the restaurant industry alone, which is like 9% of the whole of the whole employment industry.
Just Iowa.
And that's Iowa, and it's about at 10% for the rest of the country. So it's really important to value all of these things and keep them in mind. And it's kind of like the new thing, we're just going at it. So
it's like tying in like the sciences to basically like it's the application of the sciences.
Yeah, exactly.
Core education.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think moving on to Becca's part of the program, I think we're going to talk about a little bit more about grading.
Yeah, mine's a little more general and it applies to like more than just family consumer science education. It kind of applies to all subjects. What I want to talk about is standard-based grading. Standard-based grading is really hot right now. It's a very hot topic. And basically what standards-based grading is the students have to meet preset grading standards set by the educators and core requirements within all of their classes. So instead of getting a traditional, like, 90% is, like, an A or something like that, it's you get a 0 through 3 in ones that I've seen. 3 being proficient, 2 being, like, you understand most of it, and, like, 0 being, like, you didn't put any effort in, like, didn't even turn assignments in. So it's really interesting, and one of my practicums that I did with Krista Kuzi at Waverly Shell Rock Middle School, she actually gave me some really cool examples of her grading system. So just a few of her criteria that she sets the standards for her students are understanding fundamental concepts of human growth and development, understanding clothing construction techniques, design principles, and consumer choices, understanding nutrition and wellness concepts, demonstrating food preparation skills, and using food safety and sanitation procedures, and demonstrating academic and personal skills necessary for college, career, and readiness.
That's a lot.
That's for 7th graders, too.
Oh my goodness.
So there's a lot of things that they have to do for that, but it's really interesting in how it works for them.
Becca, how are parents reacting to this type of grading system?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I've heard of a couple different kinds of reactions. One from Krista Kuzi, there was parents in the Waverly Shell Rock School District do not understand this right now.
Understood.
Because they introduced it 2 to 3 weeks, maybe like a month before school started.
Wow.
That they were completely switching every subject, math, history, science, the CTE things, just everything is switching over to standard-based grading. So it was a lot for the community to take in, and it kind of sent them into a little bit of shock. But I was discussing with another teacher in Creston, Iowa, John Thompson. He teaches 6th grade, and he was saying how they've started integrating it into the school system by just starting in math.
That makes so
Yes.
much sense.
Yeah, so it's slower. Parents come in for parent-teacher conferences. They can say, this is what it is.
Absolutely.
This is how we can say your student understands shapes. They understand how to do math with shapes. They can do this. They can use their inference skills, and they can do this. But, they're lacking in this area of math, and we really want them to work on equations more or their multiplication.
Right.
We really want to stress that. So in that case, the community in Creston is reacting somewhat better because they're more informed, and as they slowly integrate it in, it will familiarize them with it.
That's great.
Yes.
And you have some really great sources that you're talking about. Two really awesome teachers. I was just wondering, how work intensive is this for them?
Absolutely.
In comparison to the letter grading that we are used to and grow up with.
Yeah.
How is that compared?
It's actually, in comparison, all of the teachers that I've talked to and the educators using standard-based grading, it is a lot more work intensive. The examples that I read off earlier of the standards that they set, they have to take those and say for a worksheet that they're given, it will have to meet most of those requirements that are preset. So question 4 may deal with their inference skills of the student. Question 5 may see how well they can summarize something. So it's really, you have to read more into the questions and into the answers rather than just marking, yes, you got this right, yes, you got this wrong. So it is more work intensive, and then even more work intensive yet is the communities have chosen to do both the standard-based grading and the classic grading. So it's kind of an integrated set, which you still have to grade it with percentages, but then also meet the standards.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of in summary of that, how would you guys feel if you had to do that?
I
With a
personally
standard base.
would feel overwhelmed, I think.
Yeah.
I'm so used to, even in school, getting the A through F, and
Yeah.
even though we were students at that time, we learned that system, kind of the ins and outs of that system, and so I think coming into something new like this, it would absolutely be overwhelming. It's a lot more work.
It's hard. Change is hard.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is the change, actually. We're going through college right now, and we are going through these standard-based grading, or we're going through grading that's on a grading scale, and
Right.
if they're not teaching us the standard-based grading, then how are we supposed to go from what we just learned to that?
To grading in a different way.
Exactly.
We have no exposure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. I don't know. I think it would just freak me out, just in general, because there's so much more new to learn, and
Yeah.
so many things that you don't know how to handle unless you have experience.
And what I've observed from kind of researching this is the younger the teacher, it seems the more receptive they are to this. I think because we are becoming more educated on it and
Absolutely.
we're going through school learning about it somewhat more, which helps us a little bit. But the older generations of teachers, it's really quite a large shift for them. And I think it's just teaching different generations and adjusting to how our students learn rather than trying to teach them a new way to learn. But I think number one is educating parents and educating them how this system works so they can understand it, because it's not necessarily a bad system, it's just a different system. And it would be really cool if we could see the two, like the old grading system and the new one, kind of mesh together.
Yeah,
but it's going to
absolutely.
take communication.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That kind of ties right into
That
yours.
does actually, kind of to a topic near and dear to my heart, is family time at the dinner table. I was reading an article from Health Magazine yesterday, and it said that in 1988, 59% of families spent at least 5 days a week at the dinner table, which is a pretty good number. Today, it has dropped to 48%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Kind of clutches at your heart there. And I know today we live in a faster world. We have fast food. Our kids have practices that we have to get to.
So many activities.
So many activities. Both parents are usually working jobs. It's difficult to find that hour every day to sit down and have family meals, but I still do think that is something that's important.
It's so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what?
Everyone should be a member of the Abraham Lincoln Association, as we are.
Proud members.
Yes.
So happy.
And now back to our show. And Carly, I think like the connection.
So
just
bad.
totally
Weird. I'm so
is.
sorry about that, you guys. That's what we were talking about. I think you were about to ask a question.
Yeah. Okay. So you told us some of the statistics about eating with families.
Yes.
You know, what are some benefits that eating with families are, and like why it's important for all of us?
Absolutely. So kind of you can take two standpoints on this. There's a healthy standpoint to eating as a family, and then there's also like a cohesion standpoint.
Yeah.
From the health standpoint, first and foremost, eating with your family at home and cooking meals introduces new foods to the family, as well as healthy foods. Being able to cook new meals, you have one option. You either eat that or you make yourself something else, you know? And so it's a really great way to introduce healthy and new foods to your kids. It also is a way to control portion size, which is huge these days.
Another hot topic.
Very, very hot topic that you could
spend
go
a whole
on
episode
about.
on that.
But
Yeah,
it does that.
definitely.
And then lastly, from a mental health standpoint, it's a great way for families to de-stress. You get home from a long day of work, both parents and children, and it's a way to talk about things.
It's a support system.
Absolutely,
Really.
which is what they're there for.
Mhm.
So that's great. From a cohesion standpoint, the biggest thing is, again, being able to talk things out with each other. Parents are able to be way more involved in their children's lives. This can lead to a decreased risk of many, many things, like smoking at an early age. Children smoking or drinking at an early age, they can have higher grades just because you're so more involved in their life, bigger desire to be involved in non-academic clubs or sports, and then again, it just relieves that stress and happiness. That
It gives them that time. I remember coming home from school and parents would ask, like, how's your day? And I'm like, I just want to, like, unwind for a little bit. You know, like, a lot goes on during the day. They need to
Absolutely.
process a little. So
absolutely.
by the time dinner rolls around,
You're ready to
you're, like,
talk it
warmed up.
out.
Yeah.
You've
Like
thought through your
usually the
thoughts.
first answer is like, oh, I don't
I'm
know how dinner
fine.
went, you know, it's fine, or how
Yeah.
school went, you
Yeah.
know, but I don't know, sometimes it's just, you need that time. So, Carly, I was just wondering, like, for me and my family, like, how often should we plan to, eat at the dinner table, or like what are your suggestions on like how to do that and incorporate that into our busy schedules?
Yes, I love that question. I love it. So professionals say that we should try and get 5 meals a week in as a family at the
wow.
dinner table, which kind of takes a jab at you. I know that's a
Yeah.
lot. We don't have time for that, as most of us say, and that's where this problem is coming from in the first place. So really, I mean, 5 is the prime number. That it would be great if people could get there, but I understand that people are busy and families do have a lot going on. So just to try your hardest, get as many in a week as you can, even if that means we were busy almost all week, but Sunday we're gonna have lunch together as a family, and we're all gonna do something to cook it together. Anything like that, just to kind of get it in. And kind of going off that time thing, I know time is a big issue. You get off work at 5, you want to have dinner because kids have practice at 6:30. A tip that I have is make big portions, and then you can freeze them. And so then you get home from work, you throw it in the oven.
There's so many of those ideas on Pinterest.
So
too.
many.
So many.
That's such a great idea.
Yeah, that really helps to save time, but still get that family meal in. That's so important.
Well, then anyone can help make it too, because like then it
Absolutely.
gets everyone involved, because it's not that hard
Exactly.
to throw it together then, but it's still a homemade good meal, but like
Absolutely.
everyone takes ownership.
Right.
Yeah, man. Oh my gosh, this was such a great
So
show,
nice
you
seeing
guys.
you again.
I was so excited to have 2 experts in their field talk about like what they are so passionate about. So
Thank you for
so
having
much.
us.
It was so great of you to tune into the Funky Zebra. We're so glad that you could
Thanks for
stop.
listening.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.